Hey guys, it's Gemma from speech class, and today I wanted to talk about ADHD and some misconceptions that unfortunately revolve around this chronic mental illness. And yes, it's chronic. That's the first myth, is that you can just grow out of ADHD and somehow it'll just magically disappear as you grow into adulthood. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. 85% of people who are diagnosed with ADHD as a child still have it as adults, or at least a lot of the symptoms in some particular area in their life, like trouble organizing and staying on top of financial responsibilities, and that can be a mess as well. Second myth is that ADHD is just a result of bad parenting. Your kid is eating too much sugar. No, in fact, ADHD is almost entirely purely genetic, and if not, there's some sort of biological factor that affects the brain and causes your brain to have lower dopamine levels. And it's very, very rarely caused by anything environmental. And it's usually not the result of bad parenting either at that. So that's like 0.00000 times 1,000, 0.1 chance that would ever happen. And another myth is that ADHD people are just lazy. And that's not the case either. Some really, really push themselves to work hard and give themselves anxiety over the basic, let's just get through the day and get your schoolwork done, or you need to get your to-do list done. And then sometimes that can be a really real struggle because they feel like they're stuck in jello and like they physically can't focus no matter how much they want to focus. And when people around them are like, you just need to focus more, it just puts them in a downward spiral, and that's not fun either. And another common myth is that only boys tend to have ADHD, which is also not the case. Boys tend to be more diagnosed often, in fact, twice as likely as girls. And the reason is because boys tend to be way more hyperactive, and that's the sign that unfortunately many people just come to conclusion that, like, oh, ADHD. Oh, that must mean that there's extreme hyperactivity, and that's not always the case with ADHD. Sometimes and ADHD in girls tends to be more on the inattentive side, which is also the daydreamy side. And that's why sometimes they don't as often get diagnosed as boys do, which can also be a huge problem when a girl's figuring out what she's doing with her life and she's wondering, why can't I stay on top of things like I should? Everybody expects me to, and then she might tumble into a depression, which is not a good thing either. And this is definitely one of the myths I think is the most important to debunk, in my opinion. So I hope all those points I made were very informational, and hopefully you know a little bit more about ADHD than you did before. And if you think you might have it, hey, there might be a couple signs there that you might not have seen before. All right. You guys have a nice night.